And we're live. Welcome, everybody. Episode number 6, Conductor Office Hours. I almost said Genesis Office Hours because we're talking about Genesis today. Welcome, everybody. It's been a while. I think it's like the last time we did it, Scott, was in November, right?
Yeah, 2014. So
yeah, whole new year, whole new product. We want to talk about, of course, Genesis today. Genesis and Conductor today. We want to talk about Conductor and the add-ons that we've released and how the product has matured since a year ago, right? We got some new pricing, right? That was first and foremost. That was the number one thing that we did.
yeah,
We got different tiers now, right? So it's now more affordable than ever to get Conductor, and now it starts at $50. I think is where we can get it in, and it goes all the way up to a new developer license, which now works on unlimited sites. So the sites that you control and maybe that you consult on, you can now get those at unlimited capacity. And then there's a lifetime version, which is available still, and you can get 20% off with the discount code Symphony20, because we also have included a starter theme called Symphony. Right. Some of the things that we've been hearing over the course since we all last chatted was, things like, well, if I'm a developer, how can I, install it on multiple sites and that kind of thing. So that's why we've done the upgrade. Number two is we've been preaching for a while now that it supports any WordPress theme, right? So we all say that, right? As product developers, we all say that. It supports any theme. Well, it supports any theme that's well coded, number one. And it supports any theme that's sort of, working in line with core WordPress. And we're going to talk about that today and how we've added that and why we added Genesis features to Conductor. So Symphony is a great way to use Conductor and not have to worry about, will this be compatible on any theme? Because, like I was saying, folks were saying, well, great, it works on any theme, but I just want one that you guys support. Like, I just want one that I can take out of the box and just use with it. Like, I'm not worried about having it work on these other themes because I'm never going back to those themes. It's sort of one-off thing. I just want something I can start my Conductor project with and have full control and have full support. So we released Symphony, which will be available also in .org as soon as that stuff gets pushed through.
That's right. And oh, by the way, on Symphony, you have the ability to customize to your heart's content, really.
Right.
Font sizes, colors, Conductor-specific font sizes and font families, and so it's really a pretty robust theme.
Right, and there's two schools of thought, right? So there's Conductor acts as a plugin, therefore building layouts of content on any theme. And what we're saying with Conductor is we want the theme to dictate what that looks like, which is the other part of this conversation, is what makes Conductor different than other page builders out on the market, right? So, we have to say that we build layouts of content, or we're building layouts for content-rich WordPress websites, and a lot of people either hear that and immediately think that you're able to, paint your website, like you're able to drag and drop elements around your website and change background colors and images and things like that, and we get those requests in. But in fact, we are focused in the current iteration of Conductor, we're very focused on displaying that content. You got content, pages, posts, custom post types, custom fields, WooCommerce products, eventually easy digital download products, and they're in your WordPress website, and you want to display them like WordPress displays a blog post. And then, oh, by the way, you want to move and reshape those displays to your desire. You do that with Conductor. I was speaking to somebody this morning. I'm going to just share my screen as I find my example site, my demo site. I'm going to share the screen. Share screen. So I was speaking, Scott, you just let me know if you see that.
It is up on the screen.
All right. So I was speaking to somebody this morning, and we were talking about using Conductor, and they had the same thing where they were thinking that, oh, this is I had always thought that Conductor was sort of a page builder where you would be able to change those colors and whatnot. So here we are, and this is a little sneak peek at using the Genesis add-on, and we're going to talk about that later in the show. But when I demoed this to her, I showed her the ability to tweak things in the content. And where it really hit home was, if this were the blog page, I've conducted this page and I'm saying to show all the blog posts, right? So now I can shrink down that display of blog posts, and we could do medium, and that splits it 50-50. And then you can dive in even further and clean things up. So if you don't want to show the read now, that's no problem. If you want to bring the author byline above the featured image, you can do that, right? And you're doing this without writing any lines of code, of course, but it's very focused on content within WordPress. Because if we wanted to do something like add a WooCommerce product, many products, that's going to drop it down right here. We can change the look and feel of how we display those products, and then we can do the same thing. Like, we don't want all this extra stuff because this is default WordPress stuff, but what we do want, because we are building an archive page of content, is we want the WooCommerce field. So with our add-on, you can do things like add the price. So once we get the, whoops, I clicked on shipping class. Let's add the price. When we add the price in, you can see the price drop right in, and then we can add the add to cart button. So again, if you've been following us all along, these are things that you might already be used to, but if you're new to Conductor and this is your first time watching it, these are the types of things that we focus on. And this is why, like a typical page builder, you'll be able to click in a single page and then build that page, but we want to build pages of content. And we want to do that very seamlessly from within WordPress. So again, we're not building ourselves, we're not recreating a customizer for you, we're not bringing you out of that WordPress core experience. We're building everything within the WordPress customizer. Trying to stay really parallel to that.
Yeah, that's right. We've actually started to see the shift of WordPress core sort of move to that customizer. A lot of in the newer releases, when they do come out, for instance, the widgets button in the toolbar, the admin toolbar, already links you directly to the customizer. So they're starting to get those features sort of implemented and sort of getting people used to that working in the customizer.
Yeah, and thanks for bringing that up, because it's one of my favorite new features, right? So we still have you know, the way that we help folks understand the customizer, because again, this is a challenge for our business, is to get people to understand, hey, WordPress is moving towards the customizer. You need to be moving towards the customizer in order to really effectively experience our product 100%. But the customizer and preview area are still not ready for your everyday user. So, you know, we've done things like these little helper buttons and helper areas that indicate we're on a full width layout, right? So if I were to change this to content sidebar, you'll see that the dotted line for the content area expands to the content area, and the dotted line over here expands for the sidebar. And then these helper buttons quickly allow you to pull up the widget, the add a widget screen, or the conductor screen, or excuse me, the conductor widget. So it just allows you to quickly drop those in. The other thing that our good friend Jeff Chandler from the WP Tavern has always talked about is, I just want to click on a widget and edit that widget's settings. So we've kind of redefined the edit button. We used to have all these little blue edit buttons that followed the widgets, but they sort of got in the way. Now when you hover over a widget area, you'll get this little edit button. You'll click that, and that'll automatically pull up that widget in the customizer. Right? And Scott, you've written a whole bunch of like how-tos on how to do this. If you're a developer out there and you want to add this to your own product, Scott has written about how to do that if you're interested in that.
Yeah, we have about 3 or 4 different posts and sort of walks you through the process. And first one is sort of getting a button into the previewer and then interacting with the customizer and going from there all the way to opening up the customizer sidebar and the right panel that you're looking for and all that stuff. So it's pretty good.
So the other thing that sort of sets us apart from the average page builder is we really want folks, and the customer base that we already have are other WordPress, either developers or consultants or agencies who are using this to solve their project, solve their project problems, whatever that project might be. It might be a custom category, it could be a membership site, a business directory site with custom fields and custom post types, that kind of thing. But we also recognize that you want to extend this for your customer. So we have two, back to the thought processes, we have, we're trying to make this easy for the average WordPress user, certainly not the beginner WordPress user, but the average WordPress user, maybe the power user who's very familiar and comfortable with WordPress to create these layouts. So we're trying to make it easy enough for them to use it, powerful enough for the developer to use it, and the way that we make it powerful for the developer is the theming stuff that you'll talk about right now. So I'll let you talk about that, and I will control your, like if you start to share a screen, I'll just click on you and I'll share your screen. So, or I'll focus you as the screen share.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so let me, what I'll probably do is I will just pull up the example. I actually just wrote, hot off the press, I just wrote this blog post, and it talks about the templating system within Conductor. Just pulling it up over here. So let me just grab my screen share.
And this stuff is pretty amazing. This is really for somebody who's out there who is a theme. You're either a theme designer and you're looking to incorporate these building type things into your theme, so you don't have to write it. Or if you're the agency that's out there and you want to build something for your client, this is some great advice. So I will make sure your screen is in focus. Awesome.
Cool. So the example that I'll talk about today, and I'll go into the post as well, is Guide. And actually, this was a client of Slocum Studio that came to us. They needed a redesign, a new platform. We migrated them over to WordPress, and we used Conductor in this theme to output these explore pages. And effectively, this is an insider's guide to Rhode Island, and you can go ahead and come on the site and say, I want to explore eateries, shops, events, deals, trivia, all kinds of different things in and around the Rhode Island area, and you can go ahead and filter these down. So you can choose, American, Asian food, different regions, and different price points. This page right here that I have up is actually a conducted page, similar to your normal conducted page. We just put the sidebar on the left and the content on the right. The interesting part about this theme is we've actually extended Conductor templates to add this filter widget area that you see on the top of this page. So now I'll go ahead and highlight the post, which does talk about this site, and just sort of explain some of the Conductor templating system in and outs. This is the post right here, and like I said, just hot off the press, just published it right before this video, and really takes an in-depth look at the Conductor templating system. For a while, we've talked about different actions and filters that we have. I think we have over 100 and some odd filters and actions in Conductor that developers can use to sort of extend any different feature that they might need. For instance, they could create their own Conductor layout. Instead of a content sidebar, they could have 3 sidebars, 4 sidebars, 50% width, whatever they might need to do. And they can do all that by hooking into our actions or filters. It can also extend Conductor by extending the or using the Conductor template system. So effectively what we do is, when we talked about this before, we take sort of a WooCommerce approach where you'll have your page gets loaded, and basically what WooCommerce does on the shop page is they sort of load the header and footer of the website, and then they sort of inject or load their own loop instead of the normal WordPress loop, and that allows them to output their shop page with all the different products and the add to cart button and so on and so forth. We actually take that same approach in Conductor, and we're able to output the different Conductor layouts depending on the Conductor content layout settings. So what we do is we hook into, this will get a little bit technical by the way, we hook into the template include filter built into WordPress, and we load our main Conductor PHP template. That template actually contains logic and a lot of different hooks to output the correct content layout. So we have some functions in there that can check, for instance, does the current layout, Conductor layout, have a primary sidebar? Does it have a secondary sidebar? So on and so forth. When that template is loaded, within those actions, we have functions that are hooked to them, which load specific conductor template parts. And that's sort of the second area of the conductor template system. We have a function inside of conductor called conductor get template part. Effectively, what this does, this particular function, is it looks for a template first within your child theme or the parent theme, and then it will fall back to the conductor templates if it doesn't find it there. You can create a directory in your theme called conductor and copy any one of our templates that come with conductor into that folder and adjust the logic as necessary. I'll sort of show you how we did that with Guide.ri. We actually created a new template. We didn't actually copy a template over, but you certainly could copy one from conductor if, for instance, you needed to add a different CSS class somewhere or add another hook. And that actually sort of falls in line with our Genesis add-on too. We've used a lot of these conductor hooks to output the Genesis hooks, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But I have some examples of sort of how the function works. You're able to load any template that you really want. So whatever you create. In this example that's on the screen right now, we have a content-custom.php template that we can load. We can also pass some data to that template if need be. We can pass the WordPress globals to it using this function, and we can even say we only want to require this template one time. If, for instance, you only want that template to be loaded once. Building off of that, we also have conductor note widget templates. And for those of you that might not know, Note is our free plugin that's available in the WordPress.org plugin repository, and it allows you within the customizer to, it's basically a rich text widget, which allows you to create content, using headings, links, images, which we just recently introduced. And now with Conductor, you actually unlock some further capabilities within Note. And that allows you to, and I'll just bring up the post here. Matt actually has a video that he created, and it sort of gives you an overview of that. Allows you to create sort of these different layouts with, let's say, like 2 columns or 3 columns with content in them, and those are sort of static content, not the conductor method of pulling in existing content. So you can extend these note widget templates as well, and we've also built a Flexbox layout system, which is sort of relatively new, but it is supported across a wide variety of browsers, and all of the common ones support it now. So even Internet Explorer 11 has full support, I believe. And I just have an example here of sort of how to use that if you were to go ahead and implement this. And as we go down in the post, we talk about the Guide.ri example. So we talk about how we launched the site. Effectively, what we do in the Guide.ri site is we hook into widgets init, and we register the filtering area sidebar. And that is the sidebar that you see on the screen above the Reserve Online section and the types of restaurants. So you register that sidebar, then we actually create the content filtering area PHP template in the conductor directory of the Guide.ri theme. And inside of that template, we're just simply checking if the sidebar is active. Go ahead and output that sidebar. And we use, after that, we hook into, and this hook is available in the conductor.php template, conductor content wrapper before. Effectively, what this says is before the content wrapper is output, or when the content wrapper is output. We're actually doing it after that conductor content wrapper is output, and we set the priority to 11 on this action to do so. We load conductor get, we trigger conductor get template part function, and here's where we reference the content and then the filtering area template. So that allows us to go ahead and output this filter section on the Guide.ri website using our own conductor template. And we sort of take the object-oriented approach where we don't put these in functions.php directly. We actually create a class file, PHP class, and we also use the same approach in Conductor. Sort of a nice, neat way to keep everything organized, and it's allows you to create multiple instances of different classes. Sort of a more advanced technique, but nevertheless, the fundamentals for creating a new template do remain the same. If you didn't want to create a template, we have plenty of template actions, which I've linked up here, that you can hook into. You can even remove the default conductor wrapper functions that are attached to those if need be as a developer. And you can also create your own custom header or footer template that will be used on conducted pages only. You simply just need to create header-conductor.php or footer-conductor.php in your child theme. So that's a quick overview of the post, hopefully quick. And if you take a look at the post and read it, it's a more in-depth, and hopefully you get an understanding of how the templating system actually functions within Conductor.
Awesome. So basically, at the end of the day, you can incorporate Conductor into your theme or project and bring that to the Conductor functionality without having to build all of this building stuff on your own. Let's take a real quick look at some of the added stuff to note that you referenced there. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again, and we'll take a look at a note example. So again, we go back to saying that we are creating pages of content, but then people want to sort of extend these pages a little bit more, and that's where Note came into play. So for those of you who have seen the Note demonstration before, there are some added things. I'm just going to move this to the top. So maybe the last time we all spoke, welcome to my website, we showed you a demonstration of Note and how you can edit text live on your website. We can do things now. We've added image support, so we can drop in an image right into the media gallery, or right from the media gallery right into our website. So we can do things like that. Okay, so that's the biggest. That's one of the bigger things that we've changed in Note. So I'm just going to save and publish this, and now take a look at adding a different kind of Note widget. So what we're doing is extending the Note widget with Conductor and allowing you to bring in some displays.
And these are only activated when you have Conductor in.
That's correct. Yeah, so that's correct. It only unlocks when you have it with Conductor. So we can do multi-columns. So these are just predefined layouts of how you might want to style this text. So you can have multiple columns or multiple rows of those columns, and you can just come in and put in your service.
And oh, by the way, this is where the Flexbox stuff that I talked about comes into play. That's how the columns are actually created. Right.
So Scott leverages Flexbox so that they're styled nice and neatly. Again, it's the same thing. You can drop in an image here if you wanted to, whatever that might be. And you can build sort of these more static layouts or bits of text that sort of go hand in hand with maybe, hey, I'm creating a home page. This is my intro call to action, as terrible as it looks, and then this is these are my 4 services, and then oh, by the way, here is the recent blog posts for my site. So you can do those types of things. One other additional display or layout would be another one that I really like, especially for call to actions or about pages or things like that, is this predefined media on the left, content on the right. We also have another one where content on the left, media on the right, and you can do multiple rows of this too. So you could do 6 rows of this if you wanted to, and you could. Let me just get the full width layout.
Yeah.
So now you have these sort of predefined layouts where you can come in and do the same thing, but they're just sort of already decided for you. It doesn't get any easier than that. If you wanted to do a team page and you wanted to write little bios about people, you could do that very easily with Note, right? And it sort of just adds some context for your content, makes it a little bit easier to build these pages. So that's what I've really liked with Note and some of the stuff that we've done there.
Yeah, and I'm really impressed with what we've been able to do with that. I think it's really cool.
Scott is impressed with his work. Ladies and gentlemen, he is impressed with his work. Let's get some of these widgets out of the way, and I can demonstrate some other stuff here. If you have any questions, you can ask us on Twitter. It's hashtag Conductor Plugin, or just tweet to @Scott. It's probably the easiest way to do it, and we'll fill out those questions, or we'll answer those questions for you. I think the Q&A app is also running on the YouTube channel. If you're there, you can drop in a question. Okay, so Genesis support. That's been huge. That's been huge for us. Number one, we've had folks requesting it over and over again, and we finally had the chance to do it. So let's just take a look at when I disable the Genesis add-on real quick, so we can see what we were working with before. So I'm going to deactivate that. We're going to go to the home page. So Scott, you might be able to explain this a little bit better than I can, but pretty much like we said before, when we created Conductor, Core Conductor, we're trying to stay in line with the markup and what WordPress gives us so that we can support as many themes as possible. So right now what you're seeing is that default sort of output HTML and CSS, right? So it's not absorbing, or it's not inheriting the Genesis styles. So we are on core Genesis theme, and up until this point, this is how Conductor would display content, which was fine for the customers who did stick with it and did use it on Genesis projects, because they were either doing what Scott was talking about before and creating their own template and sort of styling it different anyway, or they had their own Genesis starter theme and it didn't really matter. They just wanted to use a Genesis theme and sort of build this kind of function into their theme. So for the most part, it still works. It just doesn't look as pretty. When we go and re-enable that add-on, you'll see the bigger difference is there you have it.
There we go.
So now it's absorbing all of that styling. It looks a whole heck of a lot better. And like I demonstrated at the top of the show, you get all of those, you get the fields that Genesis outputs. So specifically the way that they output their read more link with the brackets, and the Genesis meta, which is filed under, and then I think there's one for tags too. So these are categories, and there's another one below that for tags. So again, you can rearrange this stuff, or you can hide it if you just don't want to display it at all. So it gives you the ability to make your collections of posts and content look a whole heck of a lot better. So if you're building that directory site and you have custom fields attached to this, you can still bring that in. If you're using WooCommerce like I showed you before, it's compatible. It makes your WooCommerce products look a whole heck of a lot better on Genesis outside of the WooCommerce default shop. So that's the kind of extensibility we're bringing. Scott, was there any other, or did you have anything to add on the technical side of it? From any implementation things for Genesis that you want to chat about?
Yeah, so definitely. So the reason why Conductor didn't inherit 100% of the Genesis styles is actually because of the way that we talked about. We're sort of loading our templates in, right? We take the WooCommerce approach, and we're loading our own template on top of, or in place of, what's supposed to be there. And the problem is Genesis has its own sort of wrapper elements with specific CSS classes or IDs that might need to be in place. So, for instance, one of those is entry. We need to make sure that each post has a CSS class of entry in order for it to inherit the correct styling. That means that little the white background area that Matt showed you around the post. That means the post title, the links, all that, the link colors. So using Conductor filters, and I think this is a perfect example of how extensible Conductor is. I mean, we did put out a new update to Conductor. The only thing that we had to change in this case was to reference the global post variable through our Conductor loop. But that was something we were planning on doing anyway, and it just sort of helped us build this Genesis add-on and make it even easier. But we didn't have to modify Conductor in any other way except for that global post in order to get this to work. So that's, I think, the beauty of it, where we can go in and extend Conductor as necessary. And so we're adding those CSS classes via filters and actions. Through the actions, we're actually outputting or doing the Genesis actions. So now we have, like Genesis before entry content, Genesis after entry content, and Genesis entry header. And effectively what that stuff does is Genesis outputs those actions in their default loop, and then the themes can hook into those actions and output the different areas, such as the post title, the post meta info, the filed under, like the Genesis meta, all that. So if we didn't have those actions in there, not all of the Genesis functionality would be able to be output correctly. So we've now gone through and took a look at Genesis, and we're doing those actions much like Genesis would in their loops when you have the Genesis add-on. And now everything looks much more seamless, and all of those extra things, let's say your particular theme has a certain style on the post info. Now we're using Genesis markup, and we're using their function and their logic, and we're able to match their markup a lot better, which in this case actually just adds the support. It was already there. We just needed to add the right CSS classes and the right tags. And so now we're doing that with the Genesis add-on.
It's great stuff. It's certainly going to help a lot of folks who have been building stuff with Genesis and all of the requests that we've been getting. I believe all we got, right, Scott?
I think so, yeah.
How much more could we talk about? If you have a particular add-on, or you've been using Conductor or want to use Conductor in a particular project, and you want to have us answer any pre-project questions or something like that, you want to make sure it supports it, or you want to just see if you can bend Conductor in this particular way, drop us a line. It's conductorplugin.com/contact. We do have our 20% off still running. I believe it runs till the end of the month. You can use Symphony 20 to grab 20% off. It's the best time to buy a Conductor, especially now with everybody who's using Genesis and Conductor. It's just a great matchup, and we look forward to more support across the board of that. If there's another theme out there that you've tried it on, or you want to know, same thing. Let us know. It's conductorplugin.com/contact. Other than that, I'm good.
I got one more thing to mention.
I
do want to say that sort of, we obviously were thinking about it already, but a lot of the feedback that we got from our user base with the Genesis stuff helped to shape this add-on, number one. But number two, even Conductor, it's continuing to help shape Conductor. In the recent release post, I mean, we got a couple bugs pointed out to us from Lisa Snyder, Deanne Petrov pointed out an issue with us with our excerpts with acrylic text. James Law from Ninja Forms. Laws, he sent us over some CSS recommendations and whatnot, which we're planning on implementing in a future release. So your feedback has certainly helped. We really appreciate it, and it will definitely continue to shape the product as we move forward. So thank you very much, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, everybody who's sent in that stuff, because, like Scott said, it's really helped, and your feedback is super important. So other than that, we'll see you on the next Conductor office hours. Thanks, everybody.
Bye, guys.